This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
Hey there, welcome back into the 132nd episode of the Sons of UCF podcast. My name is Adam, and as always, my friend and yours, Mr. UCF Mike, back and better than ever for another week. Mike, greetings, friend. How are you?
I am charged up and ready to charge on for another episode, baby.
Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting this energy off the top, but I can't blame you on why you're going to bring this energy today, Mike. We action-packed show as always. Listen, there's not a ton going on in UCF sports world. A couple of teams still playing. We'll get into all that. We'll get the headlines figured out. Baseball, softball, what's happening there. Yard sale, Mike. A good old yard sale took place. We'll talk through that. Basketball, some changes, some turnover there. You know what that looks like. Our big three this week is maybe the most hotly debated big three we've had to date. I think this one's going to cause some reaction from fans, so we'll get into that. And another Sons of UCF throwback interview, one of the very first interviews, a pioneer, an early legend for UCF, Mr. Siaha Burley, circa episode number 23, is going to be replayed tonight. If you don't know who Siaha Burley is, do some Googling, kids. He was one of the best to ever do it at UCF back in the late 90s. Him and Daunte were a fantastic combo. Really good to have Siaha on the show back then, and really good to bring it back to you now.
Siaha was awesome. When we got him on the show, that's when I knew we really had something, because our first one was Godfrey, which was really cool, and then we had Wyatt Miller. But this was an old school guy, a guy that played when we were there, and it just showed that we can start spanning all different generations of UCF time, and I really enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah, that was our wheelhouse too. He was the stud receiver when we were at school there, so that was right in our wheelhouse. So cool to catch up with him. But a lot of things to cover tonight. A few things you need to do for us first. If you're not following us on all that social media stuff, find us at Sons of UCF and all that stuff, including YouTube. You can follow Mike on Twitter at UCF Mike1. Make sure you check out our new website that we have not updated in like 2 weeks, but I swear one of these days we will. And that's twonightsmedia.com. All of our show content, the live show, all that stuff will be available for you there at twonightsmedia.com. Don't forget about the live show Thursdays on social media. And if you're listening to the podcast, give us a little rating, a little review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Do what you got to do. We always like a good rating, a good review. You guys are really good to us, and hopefully we repay you by giving you quality content like this here episode, Mike. But let's just jump right into it. We'll do some headlines here. We'll do them a little differently, though. Charge on, charge off was a game that we invented, I don't know, like 6 weeks ago. We haven't used it in a while, so we'll do headlines, charge on, charge off style. Mike, I'll give you a headline, sort of a topic. You tell me if you want to charge on, charge off, and we'll move on from there. Does that sound good for you, my friend?
Sounds like a good time, man. Let's do it.
Well, let's start with this right here. We'll start with the baseball team, Mike. On the live show this week, we had said the baseball team needed to sweep Wichita State, but if not, they at least need to win the series. I think we were hoping for a sweep. We were selling for a win the series, Mike. Neither of those two things happened. So, Mike, here is the charge on, charge off. The 2021 UCF baseball season is pretty much over right now, today on May 10th. You charge on or you charge off of that?
Well, all signs are pointing to charge on, to agree with that. We are not going to make the big tournament. We're not hosting any regionals, anything like that. The only way I'm going to hold off on it, because baseball, just like basketball, we still control our own destiny, and there's still hope. We're going to be in the conference tournament. If we win that, then we're still alive. But that's our only way to extend this baseball season the way things have gone so far. So I can't just sit on the fence, huh? So I'm going to have to charge off just because there's still life until we're officially eliminated.
Wow. An optimistic Mike is not a Mike that I'm used to talking to, especially when it comes to the baseball program, because you've said a few times throughout the year your hands were up in the air, you had the white flag ready to wave, and you were calling this thing over. They lost 3 or 4 at home against Wichita, drops them to 23-25 on the year. They're now in 5th place in the conference. Only 8 teams participating this year, so they are 5th of 8. And coming up, Mike, they're at Tulane, who is currently the second team in the standings of the American Conference. They are 25-17 overall, 14-5 in conference. So you're telling me that for the rest of the regular season, it doesn't matter to you. Just stay healthy, keep playing hard, keep fighting hard, and you're going to put your eggs into the tournament basket.
And that's the only hope we have, because we're not getting in as an at-large. It's the only hope we have is to have a very good week in the conference tournament. Now we're doing it. We're going to have to do it without our number one pitcher. And obviously it's not going to be easy. And this team has not shown anything to say that they are going to get hot and do that week. But at least it'll make it worth watching. And like I said, anything can happen. Baseball is a funny sport where the best team does not always win. It's not like basketball where usually you have the best guy on the court. 9 times out of 10, you win the game. Baseball, funny things happen. Balls bounce certain ways. You get a bad call here or there, and any team could beat anybody else.
Is the American tournament? Do you know? I'm pulling a UCF mic on you. Is the American tournament? Is it double elimination or single elimination? Do you know?
Ooh, I think it's I can pretend like I know.
Okay,
but I don't.
Right.
It may be one of those.
It's obviously one of those. Yeah, it's obviously one of those.
I would say it's single elimination.
Yeah, I think.
If I had to guess.
I think I'm gonna charge on with that. I think at this point the season's ostensibly over. I mean, here's the problem: the inconsistency. These are the scores from the weekend against Wichita State. We win the first one 6-3. We drop the next two 11-1 and 10-3, and then we lose the last one 7-6. It's just been an inconsistent all year long. We've had some great games, and we just seem to get like run ruled in a bunch of games this year. It's college players, it's college pitching. The umpiring hasn't been fantastic. It's a pandemic year. Obviously, we lost our best player and at least our best pitcher, our best rotation pitcher. So there's just been a lot of inconsistency, Mike. And I don't see all that just changing and us getting hot at that time. Yeah, maybe we win a game. Maybe we string together 2, but do we do enough to get out of the tournament? That seems kind of hard to me. So I'm gonna charge on that. The 2021 baseball season is going to come to an end. And maybe, Mike, does the Greg Lovelady watch come to a start? What do you think about that?
Oof. Well, we're going to find out about Mohajer. Mohajer, he obviously hired Malzahn as soon as we got here because he had to. We had no coach. Other than that, he hasn't had to make any other hires. I don't know if he's in a rush to do that, if he wants to put his footprint on this baseball team, if that's where he starts. I'm not sure. I think Lovelady's got another year left in him. Last year was our best season, and it got cut short. That's what makes this season so disappointing. Was we kind of had some high hopes with some of these guys coming back. It looked like we had a pretty decent lineup coming back, and it just hasn't worked out. So I'm not ready to give up on Lovelady yet. I know a lot of people are. I think he's got another year left. I don't know what his contract situation is like either. That's got to play a big role, especially with the athletic budget. You can't just be firing baseball coaches when you owe them whatever amount of money. So that's got to play a factor in it too.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. That the contract will dictate a lot of it. Plus, I think a majority of colleges around the country, save for some crazy ones that make just a ridiculous ton of money, like an Auburn that can just buy out Malzahn and just pay him $21 million to go away. I think a lot of people are just getting a pass in COVID years, and maybe that's deserved, Mike. I mean, obviously these are circumstances that no one really planned for. So I think if the contract works itself out where it's not going to be disadvantageous, for UCF, I think Lovelady gets a chance. But if his contract's up and they have a chance to kind of fish around, maybe they go do that if the money's right. But certainly a disappointing weekend for UCF baseball. And if you're Mike, you're hinging your hopes on the conference tournament. One sport that does not necessarily need to hinge their hopes on the conference tournament, Mike, is the softball team. Softball won 3 of 4 against the Cows this weekend. It's always good to win against the Cows, knocking the Cows out of the opportunity to perhaps win the regular season title overall. According to our good friend, Mr. Eric Lopez, the softball Knights here are most likely going to be in the NCAA tournament. So they are going to get into the tournament, Mike, regardless of what happens. Again, that's most likely. Nothing is final till it's final. But, Mike, the softball team needs to win their region in order to make this a successful season. Charge on or charge off?
Yeah, you know what? I'll say charge on. This is a very good team, and they've proven it by beating top teams in the country. We beat the number 1 team in the country. We beat the Gators a couple times. We had some big wins. We beat South Florida, was a good team, and we just beat them up 3 out of 4. We're in a decent conference, and we played some good softball. We got a couple really good pitchers, and the lineup has been pretty solid. This team can do some damage, and I would love to see them win a regional, man. That would be a huge step forward for this program. Coach Ball Malone has done a great job, and that's the next step. We got to start taking these next steps. It's nice to have nice regular seasons, but we got to do something in the playoffs, and I think this team is ready to do something like that.
Well, they haven't been in the tournament, I think, since 2016, maybe, if I have that right. So it's been a minute since they've been in. But you're right. I think we've seen this team play at its top level, and when they've done that, they've been competitive, if not outright won games against these teams. So that they can hang. They have the talent. That they have the sort of the fight, if you will. There's been plenty of games where it looks like maybe they were out of it and they find a way to call back into it. So they have all those intangibles. So you would think that if there's any year poised for UCF to maybe make a run, this would be the year. Now, what's tricky about this question is I don't know who's in the regional. I think the prevailing theory, according to ELO, is they'll be playing up in Gainesville, which means the Gators will be lurking around again. We've beaten them before, so I'm not sure that we would be too terribly afraid to match up against them another time. But just like baseball, I mean, the pitching obviously will control a lot of what happens. So it's really tough to say that like a season is a disappointment if you don't get to a certain level. But I do think that there is a good mixture of this team that if they they go one and out or they're not able to even win a game, that it would be disappointing. So I do think to get out of the regional would be the goal at this point right now. Maybe that's too lofty, Mike. Maybe we're setting too high of an expectation, but lest we forget, 37-16-1 on the year. They are the 3 seed in the tournament. They're going to play ECU on the 13th, and the winner will play the Cows or Memphis winner. So they've had a good year. I'm going to agree with you. Charge on. I'm going to need them to win the regional.
Yeah, it's going to come down to which region do we get placed in, and what are the other teams in there. Now, if we get placed with the Gators, we already know we can go into those games with some high confidence, having beat them a couple of times. So that's going to be the next thing. After this conference tournament is over, where do we get sent? That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, again, ELO is projecting Gainesville. I mean, there's nobody more plugged into college softball than ELO, so I'll take his word for it, but I don't think anybody knows yet. I think it's this upcoming weekend is when they announce the seeds. So still plenty of softball to be played, but I think we both agree. Let's win the regional softball team. Do us a favor. Let's win that region. Next up, Mike. Over the weekend, news broke that Brandon Mahan of the men's basketball program, a starter last year, he was out for a period of time, but had some big games and had some big moments last year for the basketball team, that he's announcing that he is intending to transfer. So Brendan Mahan, who transferred to UCF from Texas A&M, will now be essentially transferring out of UCF, I think, to take his final COVID year of eligibility, Mike. So Brandon Mahan leaving UCF is a really big deal. Charge on or charge off?
I'll say charge on, because we haven't been able to build any continuity with this basketball team, it seems, in the last few years. Guys have been coming and going. You got guys entering the NBA draft all the time, even though those guys all come back. But still, we haven't had that same core team together for 3-4 years, really, since the BJ Taylor and Aubrey Dawkins and Chad Brown guys. But even those guys were hurt all the time, so you never really got to see them all together at the same time. So I think that's been one of the big problems with the basketball team, is we haven't had that core stick around together. And now Mahan's here one day, and now he's gone the next. He was a good player. He wasn't great, but he was good. He had some moments where he looked like he could be the guy on the team. But I think it's a big loss. I think we did just pick up another transfer, though, right? We got somebody else coming in.
Well, we do. Yep.
So it's just for continuity's sake, I think it's a big loss.
Well, yeah, here's where we are. So just to orient everybody. So Mahan and then Darius Perry both had the potential for taking their extra year of COVID eligibility. I don't think we've officially heard from Darius Perry, although rumors are that he's going to opt in and take his eligibility. So if you do the math, here's where UCF stands. Here's an early look at their roster. They have Darius Perry, Tony Johnson, who played all of a half before getting injured mysteriously in a layup line, which is fantastic. We have Darius Johnson, who's a big-time point guard coming in. At the guard spot, we have Darren Green Jr., who great shooter, but probably regressed a little bit from his great freshman year. We have Dre Fuller, great athlete, pretty good defender when he wants to be. We have Isaiah Adams, and we'll mark this one for a moment because he did put his name into the NBA draft, although most people suspect this is just a an information gathering opportunity. He has until July 19th as of right now to pull his name out of the draft. So Isaiah Adams, assuming he's coming back. And then two newcomers, PJ Edwards. And I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's first name. It's spelled Tyem. I'm going to call him Tim Freeman. Then we have Tyem, maybe. We have big CJ Walker, again, another guy who put his name in. July 19th is his date. Jameel Reynolds, who we saw make some strides last year. Sean Mobley, get out of my life. And then a new guy, Xavier Rhodes, coming in as well. With I think if the math is right that I read, I think we have the ability for at least maybe 2 more roster spots. We're in the mix for a transfer out of UNLV, and his name I will not try to pronounce. I believe it's Diong is his last name. So here's the thing: if you get rid of Mahan, in which it's going to happen, I actually don't know that it's a terrible thing, because what it's going to do is going to open more shots for Isaiah Adams. It's going to open more shots maybe for Darren Green Jr. We're going to see if either of these two Johnson guys, Tony Johnson, who we liked a lot his freshman year but didn't play at all, or Darius Johnson, the newcomer, can play. We know Darius Perry has never met a shot he didn't like. CJ Walker's got to improve his offensive game. So there was kind of a gluttony of guys who all wanted shots. And listen, the future of this team is going to be, hopefully, Isaiah Adams, CJ Walker. So if we can figure Anthony Johnson and maybe Darius Johnson, if we can figure out ways to get these guys shots and the ball, I'm okay with that. To your point, Mahan had a really good game against Florida State, and then he had a tendency to disappear at times. He wasn't the best ball handler, so he wasn't somebody that you could really trust to bring the ball up and to defeat the press. So as much as it hurts losing leadership and losing veteran presence, this was going to be a young team anyway, based on the guys that just ran off, except for maybe Darius Perry and Sean Mobley. So with that being said, Mike, let's just go young and wish Brandon Mahan well. I have nothing personally against the guy. I think he was a good representative of UCF, but I think ultimately I don't know that this move kills us that much. So I want to charge off that. I don't think it's that devastating for him not to be in the team next year.
All right. And this is a guy now going to his 3rd stop in college. I always wonder about guys like that. They're transferring 2-3 times, and it's not playing time. He was getting playing time here. Is that he feels that he wasn't used in the right way, or he just feels that this other school is a better fit, or does he have some other personal things, or where is he transferring to?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's been announced yet. I think it's actually his 4th school. Let me look that up quickly. I think he was at some school prior to Texas A&M. Let me fact check that, but I don't think that he's officially announced. I don't even know if he's officially in the portal. I know that he just said he was going to be in the portal. I think Brandon Hellwood was reporting as of yesterday he wasn't in there. He went to some place called Chipola Junior College, then Texas A&M, then UCF, and now obviously TBD. So I mean, you can look at all the theories you want. Some people said that maybe he just wanted a chance to get some solid playing time. Maybe he thought he'd get squeezed out by these young guys. Maybe he realized his playing time was going to be in jeopardy this year, and so he just figured, let me go someplace where I know I can get some minutes. Maybe he thought Darius Perry wasn't coming back, and maybe he's coming back now, and so he's like, I don't want to do that. Maybe he wants to get close to home. Who knows? But that's just college basketball. We lost Avery Diggs. I think he went to Tennessee Chattanooga now. This is just college basketball, guys. People just move around, and that's what the one-time transfer will. Now for him, he gets a free COVID year, so he gets a kind of an exemption there, but I don't know. And I guess it's always possible he pulls his name back out of the hat. Maybe he likes what he sees at UCF overall. Maybe Dawkins can pull his magic. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be devastating for us.
Well, he definitely has commitment issues, I think. So if you're a woman out there and you're getting a relationship with Brandon Mahan, tread lightly.
All right. Dating advice with UCF, Mike. All right. Next up, Mike, this one wasn't on our sheet here, but I saw it pop up on Twitter again today, so I'll just throw it out at you, and I'll let you decide off the top of your head how you want to handle this one. Rumors continue to swirl, Mike. It's been reported earlier in the year, and some Yahoo kind of re-reported it, although I don't know how accurate it is. But, Mike, Boise State potentially joining the American Conference is the right thing for the American Conference. Do you charge on or charge off with that?
Boise State, I would like to see Boise State in our conference. I think it strengthens the football conference. I think it weakens the Mountain West, obviously. So when you talk about college football the way it is now, and we talk about a G5 team ever getting a chance to get in the playoff, I think it would strengthen our conference and make us more comparable to the Big 12 and the Pac-12 when you look at it that way. The big question mark is it for football only? Are they coming over for the other sports? Are they coming over alone? Are they bringing in other schools with them? think there's a lot more to it. But I would like to add Boise State. We got a series coming up with them now, starting this season. We play them once, and we're going to travel to Idaho. And it's a series that a lot of fans are looking forward to on both sides. I think it'll be a fun series. So I don't see anything really bad about it. But you got to tell me the whole deal. What other schools are coming, and what are we doing about the other sports and that whole deal?
Yeah, again, obviously this is reporting that some people are saying Boise State was doing some due diligence, had conversations. I think one of the reports I read today said it would just be a football-only deal, that they would bring at least 2 other schools with them. I saw San Diego State is bandied about as one. I think the third one is kind of up for grabs. I think some people were talking BYU. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. So essentially they would try to bring 2 schools with them. So this is interesting for me. I will do a short-term, long-term. In the short-term, charge on. If we add Boise next year for some reason that quickly, and we add a San Diego State, and those are interesting road trips, right? If Knight fans want to get out to the West Coast, those are some cool road trip opportunities. Strengthens the conference a little bit more. To your point, it depletes, the Mountain West, which is probably the biggest contender year over year for UCF or the American Conference in general, and getting that New Year's Six bid. But I wouldn't want to do that at the expense of not getting the chance to go to a quote unquote Power 5 conference, or I would need to understand more about whether or not this bandied about playoff expansion would take place. So I would charge on for a couple of years if that's kind of the stopgap between sort of the next for UCF, if that means expanded playoffs or if that means conference expansion and conference realignment. But I don't want to take Boise at the expense of jeopardizing either of those 2 things. So I'm on the fence, I guess. I'm going to do a mic here. I'm going to charge on, charge off, depending on if you're talking short term or long term. There's probably a lot of unknowns that would need to be answered before I could give you a definitive answer on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if them joining is going to stop us from leaving if given the opportunity. I think we'd still take off anyway. It'd be interesting to see what they did with divisions, or if they went to like a pod system. I don't think we'd be traveling to Boise every other year. I think you'd stick them out there if they're coming over with teams like San Diego State or UNLV or Colorado State, something like that. They make their own pod over there, and then maybe we get a Southern pod with us and the Cows and who else we close? Memphis. Make a Southern pod, a Northeast pod, and kind of spread it out that way. But they don't fit what the rest of the teams in the American they're all pretty big cities, right? Metropolitan cities.
Tulsa.
Boise, Idaho. Huh?
Tulsa.
Yeah, but the majority of pretty much every other team in this conference is in a big market, right? You got Philadelphia, you got Orlando, you got Tampa, you got New Orleans. I mean, every other team is you're right about Tulsa.
We're talking about Greenville or no? Charlotte?
Yeah, that's another one, but I don't think that's. Oh, I don't know. Okay. The majority
Either way, 2 is
of
not
in
bad.
This conference
Yeah,
are big markets. But Boise's as a brand name, and Boise brings some cachet with them, especially on the football side. So I think it could definitely help us. At least you're right for the first couple years.
Well, I think the other kicker would have to be, what does this do with the TV contract? Does this mean we have to reopen the TV contract when you add in, 1, 2, 3 more schools? Obviously, now you're splitting more revenue. Do we go back to our TV partners and say, hey, now we're doing this? And if that's the case, and they reopen a contract, there has been language in other contracts. I think UCF was part of this conversation earlier, where there's additional exit fees if UCF's not in the conference, or are there going to be like poison pill penalties in those contracts? I think that could be a sticky one. I'm not a television contract expert, but if they have to open up the contracts, as long as we don't get something slid in the contract that makes it either financially disadvantageous for us to leave, or causes such a great penalty that we can't leave and then we miss that window, I think that's just the thing you have to vet out. Again, all this always seems fun, right? Every year there's this conference stuff. This team's going here, this team's going there. Off the top of my head, when's the last time we had a conference move, like a team leave a conference? I can't even. That was the Big Ten stuff when Rutgers and Maryland went to the Big Ten. Was that the last time we had a conference movement like that? I mean, I guess maybe some.
We had the SEC grabbed Missouri and Texas A&M, right?
I guess maybe with some of the smaller conferences probably could change team. Maybe Conference USA added somebody and you and I were sleeping on it. Who knows? But I think it's just more complex. So I think short term, sure, if you want to say, hey, Boise's coming in for a couple of years, and nothing has to change and it doesn't block or ruin anything, then I'm all in. Yeah, let's play more teams, let's play better teams, let's strengthen the conference, let's get some cool road games on the calendar. But Boise, and because I think this is where the American and UCF are they aligned in their goals, right? The American wants to strengthen the American Conference so that they can become the quote unquote Power Six that they say that they are. They can get automatic bids, all this other stuff. While UCF would certainly probably take that, UCF's also looking out for UCF's interests. So are those two things aligned? And I guess I'd have to know that they're both could be accomplished. And ultimately, my bias being towards UCF getting the thing that they want out of the deal.
Well, if things go the way they look like they're going, and the playoff does get expanded to 8 or 12 teams, and we are clearly the best conference outside the top 5, we're number 6. I think they're going to have to find a spot for us, and if that's a guarantee that the American champion gets a spot in the playoff, we may be best off just staying in the American. And we're going to be contending for the top spot every year. We're going to be a legitimate playoff team every single year. That might work out to benefit us the most. And you said that you're not a TV contract guy, but guess who is? Mike Oresco.
Allegedly.
Bread and butter coming in.
Allegedly.
When he took over this conference, that was supposed to be his thing, is getting that TV deal. Maybe he can work some kind of magic and get something going here.
All right, last thing. Speaking of magic, Mike, apparently you and I both weren't there. So it was a magical Saturday at the Bounce House when UCF opened up the concourse there and commenced their, I don't know if it's second or third annual yard sale, where jerseys, helmets, cleats, shirts, pants, socks, hopefully not jock straps, and everything in between were on sale for folks. They were staggered start times. People went in and got to make some purchases, Mike, and you saw some pretty cool stuff floating around Twitter. Helmets, jerseys, all that stuff, Mike. So here's the question. Charge on, charge off. You are upset that you did not go to the yard sale. Charge on, charge off.
Charge off. I'm not upset that I didn't get to go. I probably wouldn't have gone even if I lived in that area. It's just not my thing. I mean, I'm not spending $600 on a helmet. We've gone over this already before. The jerseys, some of the jerseys are cool, and the prices are actually not bad on them. It's just, I don't know. I don't think they'd fit great, right? They're kind of tailored for wearing pads, and I think they kind of look funny on people when they wear them normally. So what else is there? I mean, I guess you want to get a couple little other things where they sell the gloves. I don't. When am I going to wear receivers' gloves? I don't know. It's just a cool thing to have, I guess. You take a picture with it.
Sure.
What else? What were some of the other cool things that people were coming out of there with? I
mean, you saw some shirts, hat. I guess they had a bunch of cleats and shoes that were like $5. Some barely worn type stuff. You saw some baseball shirts. I saw some pants, some sweaters, some apparel, I guess, as you would say it. I don't know if people buy the jerseys though to wear. I mean, I guess that's a great question. Were people buying those to wear, or to kind of like hang up in their man cave or in their garage or in their basement or wherever they have that stuff, right? I guess I would have considered, if I went there to buy a jersey, I would not have worn it. I probably would have framed it and hung it. Do you think people were buying those jerseys to actually wear them?
Some people, but you're right. Some people were probably buying them and seeing if they can get them autographed.
Yes.
Like, I believe Gabe Davis was having a function that night. Some people probably went out there, bought a Gabe Davis jersey, and then went out to see if you can sign it for him later. And then something like that, you hang up and you frame it. But I'm sure there's a bunch of people that buy them and wear them. We met a guy in Boca that came over and visited us at Hooters before the football game. Our friend, was his name Andrew Cosma? He buys the entire jersey set.
Yes, he sure did.
Jersey, the pants, the helmet, and he puts on the whole uniform when he goes to the games. So there are people out there that will wear it.
There are people. I think I saw a cool story too, where somebody bought a Jacob Harris and messaged him. I was like, "Hey, any chance you could sign this before you leave?" And I think the guy wrote back that they got in contact. They're going to work that out. So that part is cool. Does it feel at all shady to you though that like UCF's obviously making money off these jerseys, and you associate number 13 with Gabe Davis or 16 with Jacob Harris? And obviously the name, image, likeness stuff is around the corner, but people are spending good money for this stuff, and and guys who wore it are getting bupkis out of the deal.
Well, that's exactly the reason why we're changing the rules now.
Right.
But it's funny that they have to take the names off the jerseys before they sell them.
Yeah.
Right. Now I wonder, once the rule changes in place. Are they going to have to do that next time? They can just leave the names on, but then they got to throw these guys a couple bucks. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, I think you got to give them a cut. Well, what stops, maybe they can, it'll be a true yard sale. They set up their own table, right? You have the Dylan Gabriel table where he sells the stuff he wants to sell and autographs it for a certain price. I mean, I guess I don't know what the rules are, and I'm not sure what the particulars are, but I guess the sky's the limit on that stuff. Either way, it seemed like look, it was packed according to, the pictures and all the videos you saw. It seemed like there was lines going around for hours and hours. So all in all, I mean, it's a unique idea. I don't think UCF's alone in doing this stuff, but everyone kind of seems to love the ability to get inside access. And listen, God love you people who are coming out with 2 and 3 helmets, at $1,800 or $1,200 for the helmets. God love you for all that stuff. I'm sure it's a pretty cool decorative house piece for you and your man cave or your dining room table, wherever you put it. But I guess all in all, cool thing, right? I saw there was some talk of Mohajer maybe extending this to an online deal, and then I saw there was maybe a hoax around that stuff, so be careful of your Venmo and Terry Mohajer stuff. But if they did it online, I guess they'd probably even get some more revenue out of the deal, and I guess that's the name of the game, right? Sell what you can and get some revenue right now.
That's right. They didn't sell out all the helmets. They jacked up the price a couple $100 this year, so they had a bunch left over. Why not sell them online? There was a big outcry from people that live out of state that aren't able to get to this thing, and they would like to get their hands on a helmet or some other cool items. I think they definitely should do that and get as much money as possible. Remember, we didn't play that whole season with fans last year. People have rolled over their season tickets. That's a whole year of not getting money for season tickets that we have to deal with now. Like guys like me, I paid for my tickets last year and I rolled it over this year, so I didn't have to pay anything this year. So there's got to be ways to make up that money, and this is going to help a little bit. Then UCF needs to do it. We got to do whatever we can to make that money.
Get that money, friends. That's what UCF is trying to do. Obviously, a lot of people helping out, and either way, cool event. So it looks like all in good fun. Mike, those are the newsworthy type items. Again, slower week tennis team, by the way, looks like they're dominating. Maybe we got national championship titles coming that way. But unfortunately, we are not your home for the UCF tennis breakdown. But what we are your home for is rankings and lists that mean nothing, that you haven't thought about and you have no reason to ever think about. That's why we're here. We think about it for you. The Big 3 list coming up right after this on the Sons of UCF.
Mike and Adam, Sons of UCF. That'll move those chains. That's good enough for another UCF first down.
All right, Big 3 this week. The theme of the Big 3, foreshadowing the guest that you'll hear right after this segment, is the best quarterback wide receiver combo in UCF history. The Big 3 quarterback wide receiver combo. So think Montana and Rice, Aikman and Irvin, Manning and Harrison, names that are synonymous for their time together. Now, this is a little tricky, Mike. You and I haven't covered the ground rules because obviously for some of the receivers or quarterbacks specifically, they played for multiple quarterbacks. So I took my list as, just 2 individuals, one guy and one guy. If that meant they only had one season together, then so be it. So I did not lump together multiple quarterbacks or multiple receivers. Because obviously there were some options there. So that's how I did my list. Did you do yours any differently? Did you think about this from another perspective?
No, it had to be the quarterback with that receiver.
Okay.
Like there's guys like Mike Walker,
yes,
who leads in a lot of categories.
Poor Stephen Moffitt. Yeah.
He had a few different quarterbacks throwing the ball to him. So I couldn't put him on any of these lists. It has to be that combo of quarterback to receiver, right?
Yeah, that 06 season, he had 90 catches, but Stephen Moffitt had 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So it just wasn't going to work out to put Moffitt and Mike Sims Walker as one of our top 3 or big 3 combos, Mike. But luckily, we each have 3 here, and I'll let you start off. So your number 3 best all-time QB receiver combo is whom?
Ooh. I mean, this was pretty... There's so many combinations to go from, and when we're done going over this list, I can give you another list of like 6 or 7 of them that could be tops at a lot of schools. But this is where we excel: quarterback and receivers. We have some deadly combinations. Number 3 for me, Mackenzie Milton and Traquan Smith. They played together for 2 years, 2016, 2017. They put up 2,024 yards total, 18 touchdowns, 116 receptions. between the two guys. Just a deadly combination. They can go deep. They can beat you over the middle. They can beat you so many different ways. And how many big games that they win together, and just two of the greats to ever be here. McKenzie, one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it, and Traquan Smith put up some big-time numbers at a receiver.
I did want to share with the audience in advance. You and I do not compare lists, so I don't know what you have. You don't know what I have. So number 3, Mike, I have McKenzie Milton and Traquan Smith in my third spot.
Every week.
It does happen every week. I'm not sure if that's good or bad news. More things you didn't add that I'll throw in there. Traquan is number 4 all-time in receptions for his career. He's number 3 all-time in receiving yards. He's number 4 all-time in receiving TDs. He only played 3 seasons, 15, 16, 17. He had a pretty decent 15 year. Obviously, that was the year that UCF did not win a game. Inconsistency at quarterback that year, so he was still adjusting. He went number 80 back then, which was awkward to see. So Traquan definitely had his 2 best seasons when McKenzie Milton was throwing him the football. In that 2016 year, he had 13 catches in that game against Houston. Always reliable, always dependable. Feel like big games, you knew Traquan down the middle from KZ was going to be in play. And obviously was a big part of that 2017 championship run. So this was the close one. The third spot was obviously the spot that it's open for a lot of competition, a lot of debate. But I think the multi-year foreshadowing here for me, the multi-year connection between these two is what gave them the number 3 spot, in my opinion.
All right, and that they only played together for 2 years. If they had that extra third year, Milton had a great season in 2018. If Traquan had come back for that year, who knows the numbers they would have put up? They might have moved up to number 1 or even number 2, but they're stuck here at 3 because this is a very tough list to crack.
Well, who is number 2 then, Mike? What do you have for your second QB receiver combo?
Number 2, Daunte Culpepper and our guest tonight, Siaha Burley, from 97 to 98. Another duo that only played 2 years together, but were incredible in those 2 years. 2,248 yards together, 15 touchdowns. Siaha Burley had over 1,000 yards in both those seasons, 1106 in 97, 1142 in 98. And the consistency, just the almost exact numbers from 97 to 98, 7 touchdowns in 97, 8 touchdowns in 98. Another duo that can beat you all kinds of ways. They can go deep. They can hit you with the slant. They can hit you all. That was a dynamic duo. That was our freshman year watching Daunte to Siaha Burley. It was incredible. You never knew we could score from anywhere on the field with those two. Good choice. Obviously, Siaha Burley, our guest on the show tonight, the inspiration for this list here tonight, Mike. So let me unveil my number 2, and it is Daunte Culpepper, Siaha Burley. I have number 2 on my list, obviously for a lot of reasons that you mentioned. A couple of things that you didn't say that I will throw in there. He holds the UCF record for most receiving yards in a game currently. He had 266 yards in a game in 1998 against Southwestern Louisiana. And again, he only played 2 seasons, 165 catches in those 2 seasons. Obviously, you said the consistency, 15 total touchdowns. Imagine if these two had been able to put together one more season, either in front or behind of their 2 years together, just even one more season. At the offense, at the way that they were humming. I mean, Daunte in those 2 years, he threw for 3,000 yards both years, over 25 touchdowns both years. He had some prolific receiving cores. I know that the names probably aren't as memorable as some of the cores that you see today, but he had some weapons back in those days. And Siaha Burley was just a guy that you said earlier, there was just electric, that connection. I saw a highlight that they were showing of Siaha recently where, he comes out of nowhere to make this diving catch against South Carolina. Just an all-time great connection for UCF, but not the all-time great connection, Mike, because I only have them at number 2. That's right. I had another Daunte connection on here that I was debating on putting in this top 3, and it's him to Mark Nonson.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you look at the numbers, he actually has more receptions, more yards, and just as many touchdowns as Burley had from Daunte. The difference was that was spread out over 3 years, where Burley did it over 2, so a little more impactful in those 2 seasons. Mark Nonson, number 2 behind Mike Sims-Walker in receptions in the D1 era. So that is a deadly combination too. And have both those guys in 97 and 98. Well, what a bunch of weapons Daunte had to throw to.
Yeah, the seasons where the work gets tricky. How many years these guys played together? Because at some point it looks like a longevity award, but then some cases, obviously, some people had one really great season. And, is that better than two, really good seasons? It was really a tricky exercise, but that's what we do here. We do the tricky exercises for you, Mike. So we should really get a sound effect for this. I don't have one still. But your number one on the big three of best quarterback receiver duos in UCF football history is?
All right, this can go two ways. Either we're going to have an exacto here and have the same exact list, 1, 2, 3, which has not happened yet since we started doing this, or we're going to have two different number ones here, and that's a little crazy too. I think maybe we will, because I went to the way back machine for my number one combination here. From 1991 to 1994, Darren Hinshaw to David Rhodes. I know this is before our time. This is before Division I time, but these guys broke all kinds of records. Rhodes, all-time school records, 3,618 yards. He broke Sean Beckton's record at the time. 213 receptions, number one all-time for UCF also. He also holds the record for 100-yard games, which is 16, and touchdowns, 29. The next closest, I believe, is 23. These are numbers that have not been broken ever, and Hinshaw was the man to throw it to him. Hinshaw, in his time, threw 82 touchdowns here and 9,000 passing yards, which right now I believe would be good enough for third in UCF history if you include all time. So that was a deadly combination. One I never got to watch, but just going by the numbers, man, I don't think it can be debated. This was the biggest combo we had, and they got to play together for 4 years. That's the other thing. Whereas the first two, number 2 and number 3, only had 2 years together. These guys were together. They grew up together. Hinshaw took over as a freshman as a quarterback and got to play his whole time. And Rhodes was the record setter out there at receiver for him.
That's an inspired choice, Mike. You hit to the way back button there. That's an inspired choice. Not a lot to argue about that particular choice. And so I'm not going to try, because I had Darren Hinshaw and David Rhodes as my number one all-time combo. The only thing you left out there was that Hinshaw had 6 touchdown passes in '93 against Liberty. That's the only thing you left out there. Obviously, Rhodes his name is littered all over the UCF record books, particularly the receiving side. And that's back in the days. Again, people forget, but this was the Mike Kruzak offensive coordinator era as well. Obviously, most people know him as the head coach. He was the OC for a number of years prior to him getting ascended to the head coach spot. So he may have played a role, obviously, in the inspiration for that. As we know, Kruzak likes to throw the ball around. Not a lot of highlights of the Hinshaw Rhodes era. So for many of you listening who've never heard of these two guys, this is probably blasphemous that you didn't hear names like Gabe Davis, or you didn't hear names like Ryan Schneider. You didn't hear a name like Dylan Gabriel. You Mike Sims Walker, Brandon Marshall. These are probably names that you were expecting to hear there. But do some research, friends. Darren Hinshaw, David Rhodes. I'd love to have seen a couple of highlights from those guys, because their numbers are just off the charts, particularly in an era back then, Mike, when people weren't throwing the ball around that much. I mean, this was 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of football. And to have these two guys still hold records to this day. Now, I will say, obviously, with McKenzie, with Dylan Gabriel, with what receivers are doing, we'll see how long these last. I think the Rhodes records are going to last for a while, because you're going to need a receiver to come in and basically as a freshman and make an impact. And with how many skill guys we have throwing the ball around too, this one may stand for a while, especially the receiver stuff. Hinshaw is probably going to get continue to move down the list with more and more quarterback stuff. But David Rhodes, I think his records will stand for a while.
That's right, because if a guy does come in and make an impact like that as a freshman, chances are he's gone after 3 years anyway. He's not sticking around for that 4th year at the receiver position. So his record may be safe for a while. I thought you were going to zig when I zagged there and go with Schneider to either. Well, it's tough, because he had Doug Gabriel and Jimmy Frizzell. Mm-hmm. There was a few other ones that had a couple receivers. You got Bortles to Wharton and Perriman. You had Dylan Gabriel to Marlon Williams, Gabe Davis. That was a big one. And this list, I mean, I guess it's a different list for a different time if you wanted to do wide receiver duos together, because that would be a fun one. Like the ones I just mentioned, you also got to go back to the Sean Jefferson and Sean Beckton. Mm-hmm. That'd be a tough one to come up with 3 for.
Yeah, what's interesting about it was, again, the year. A couple of my honorable mentions. I had Dylan Gabriel, Gabe Davis, 2019. That one season alone, I mean, Gabe had a fantastic year in 2019 from Dylan. 72 catches, 1,241 yards, 12 touchdowns. He had a great 18 year with McKenzie, but again, it wasn't a combo duo. I looked at Schneider and Gabriel. Gabriel's numbers in 02 were pretty similar to Gabriel Davis's numbers in 19. He had 75, 12, 37, and 11, so right there on par. So that was another season I looked at. Darren Hinshaw had a fantastic year, Tyson Hinshaw had a fantastic year with Schneider in the early 2000s. And then obviously you mentioned Sean Becton. The challenge with some of these guys is they had revolving door quarterbacks, which made it hard to kind of pin down who sort of that combo was. But definitely a lot of options out there. But I don't know. I think we got the right three. I'm sure other people will disagree. I think we got the right three.
I think so too. And I think Cossack Advisor is going to let us know that we did it right this time, and included the guys from the old school. David Rhodes. That's not a name a lot of UCF fans are probably that familiar with, especially the newer UCF fans. But go back in the history books, man. The guy has every receiving record. He went on to play in the NFL. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals drafted him. This school has a long history of receivers and quarterbacks in these combos, and we've been blessed to see a few of them in person. And it's going to continue again this year. Is it going to be Dylan Gabriel to Jalen Robinson, or is it going to be Dylan Gabriel to one of these new receivers we got coming in? Who knows? Ryan O'Keefe, is he going to bust out this year and they're going to have a crazy year? The future is so bright with this program, and we've always been a passing school, even through the O'Leary times. If you want to factor in the Bortle years, we put up some good passing numbers too. So it's been fun, and I'm excited for the future. David
Rhodes, also a UCF Hall of Famer, by the way. That was interesting. Like I was looking at this list and I was like, okay, there's got to be a spot for Bortles here, but I couldn't. Again, I think he's the victim of having a lot of great receivers and spreading the ball around a little bit. But I guess Bortles to Wharton. But how much of that is just because you think about the Temple catch, right? Because obviously Rennell Hall had a bunch of long touchdowns from him. So I had a hard time with Bortles. I felt like I wanted to have him in here someplace. I didn't know who the right person was. And I wasn't necessarily married to the stats, right? You can probably look at this and say, oh, you guys just picked out stats and whoever the most catches. And sure, that's an easy way to do it. But I was in my mind, I was okay with saying, hey, if someone had lesser stats but had a much bigger impact on a season, that's why I really considered Gabe Davis. But the reality was in 2019, we didn't win anything. So I looking at the 2 years that Traquan had, 2017 being one of those seasons, I mean, I couldn't discount that. And if you think about all of Gabe's seasons together, maybe he gets in there. If you let us do combo quarterbacks, maybe Gabe sneaks in here with his stuff. Don't forget, Marlon Williams had a fantastic career, but again, multiple quarterbacks. So I think that's where it got a little bit sticky. But I was willing to try to find like a Bortles guy and Kyle Israel guy, and to your point, looking at Mike Sims Walker and how do I get him in there? I just couldn't find that right combination fit.
Yeah, Bortles, another one. If he comes back for his senior year, remember he had Wharton, he had all those receivers coming back with him. He could have put up some huge numbers. Obviously, you're going to be the number 3 pick in the draft. You go, but he would have came back one more time. Imagine another season with him, with Wharton and Perriman and Rennell Hall. And I think Reese even had another year left in him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not Godfrey would have been gone, but all the other guys were there. So who knows the numbers he could have put up. And Wharton's right up there in receiving numbers. I think he's like 4th in Division I era for yards and catches. So if him and Bortles had that other year together, who knows the numbers they would have put up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously JJ was just our number one initial first name guy in the last big 3, so he obviously had a fantastic UCF career, as did Blake. But sometimes you just don't put it all together. But luckily, Mike, our guest this week was a guest we had back in 2018, Siaha Burley. He did put it all together. Him and Daunte combined for one of the most lethal receiver duos in UCF history, and we had a chance to catch up with him then. Can't wait for you guys to hear this now. If you haven't heard it, it's fantastic. If you don't know who Siaha Burley is, take a quick pause here. Google it. Siaha is how you spell his first name. Google it. Look at some highlights. You will definitely have your thoughts change and your eyes opened. But open your ears, though. Next is Siaha Burley.
Who are the Suns talking to this week? Let's find out.
All right, folks, really excited about our next guest. If you have been around the UCF program for a while, this name is not going to be unfamiliar to you. But all you young kids out there, you missed this guy play. You missed out on quite a show back in his time. So this guy played during the really the transition as we kind of came into D1. He had 2 seasons with us. He had 15 touchdowns, over 150 receptions, and he was a big part of the fun and gun offense, if you will, back in the day. So we are pleased to welcome in Siaha Burley to the show. Siaha, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's get started with here. Obviously you're born and raised in Arizona, and I know you started out in a community college out there. What made you decide to take the trek all the way across the country and come to UCF?
Funny you should ask. It was actually an article by the school put out called Divine Intervention about how I got to UCF from Mesa, Arizona. Never heard of back then, really getting any West Coast recruits to go to UCF back then. So I believe if I wasn't the first, I was one of the first guys to come from the West Coast. So what happened was I was being recruited. I was a qualifier, so I came out after 2 seasons. Right after the season, I was eligible to come out in the spring. And I was looking for different schools. And my grandfather, actually, he's a pastor. He was in Mount Dora. Knew a banker who actually knew the coach at Florida State. I sent some highlight film or two game films to my grandfather. He gave it to the banker. They sent it to FSU, no bites. And then they said, well, we'll just send it to UCF. And, Gene McDowell was the head coach at the time, but Mike Kruzik was the OC, and Mike reached out to me. And I had some visits to some schools, but no one had a hard offer, and he offered me, and I was ready to go. First thing, Florida, first offer I got, and I didn't even take a visit. I just jumped on it, signed right there.
That's awesome. So you hadn't never even seen the campus then? Yeah,
but here's the thing. One of my players, my teammates, was from Maryland, and he had some film of the UCF team playing William & Mary. And when I saw the offense was a 5-wide spread, Daunte was the quarterback, who was a sophomore. I was a sophomore. So I thought, man, I could play in this wide open offense, with 4 or 5 receivers. I got a chance to get on the field when they're playing some of the receivers. And then Daunte playing with him for 2 more years. It's in Florida. I looked at the schedule. They Ole Miss, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Nebraska. What opportunity that would be? And it was Division I. So I had family right there in Mount Dora. I didn't even take a visit or anything. I felt like it was a good fit.
Yeah, makes sense. So you came to campus, and this is right when UCF is transitioning from into D1. And fans now, they don't know, but back then, we didn't have the on-campus stadium. We didn't have the practice bubble that they have now. We don't have the nutrition center, and now they're coming out with a lazy river soon. What do you remember about the facilities back then when you were on campus?
Wow, yeah, I've been back to see it. I haven't walked everything. I guess I walked the weight room, some of the facility and whatnot. I haven't been to the stadium yet, but it was totally different. There's no question. We didn't have a stadium, obviously. The Wayne Dench was the weight room, and we practiced outdoors on the practice fields, and it was very much, a program, trying to continue to build, and we couldn't compete with the major colleges for sure with facilities like we can now. So definitely the growing stages of the program, and I was just, excited of how well we did on the field, and would hope to see UCF grow to what it is today and be a well-respected program like it is now. And even now, we're still fighting for some more respect I think we deserve. So, but definitely has come a long way. Everything I ever dreamed of, being a part of and seeing it and watching it grow to where it is today. So it's definitely, when I was there, it was nowhere near facility-wise what it is now.
Yeah, I remember that Wayne Dench weight room you talked about. It's like the size of this garage that I'm sitting in right now.
Right. Absolutely. So we worked with what we had, and that was it.
What are your memories of playing in the Citrus Bowl? I know going there as a fan, it was a pretty interesting environment. What do you remember about playing your home games back then in the Citrus Bowl?
Oh, I loved it. It was it was a far, ride for students to drive out there. So for whatever reason, it's a big dome. So, I mean, like, we never filled it up. We only pretty much got the lower bowl filled, if that. So, it didn't really have the look of a rocking stadium because it's so big. We couldn't fill the entire stadium with fans. But the atmosphere was great, of course. And we won every home game that I've ever played in there. So those 2 years. So, it definitely had some prestige to it. And we rocked it. And I definitely enjoyed playing at home for sure.
Well, you mentioned that. So as UCF is making its way through the early years of the sort of the D1 football transition, you guys had some close games against what now people would consider Power 5 opponents. So in 97, you lost to Ole Miss by 1. You lost to Nebraska by 14, although, we were in it at halftime. You lost to Mississippi State by 7. That next year, 98, you lost to Auburn by 4. A lot of close calls as we were kind of up and coming. Do any of those games stick out to you the most as games that you think we could have won?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The game we should have won was the Auburn game.
Oh.
I mean, all those games, we were winning in the fourth quarter, but the Auburn game literally haunts that whole 98 team. I promise you that game really haunts us because we were sitting at, we only had one loss. We were at 9-1, I think it was, or 8-1, 9-1. Yeah, it was like second to the last game of the season. So we had to be like 9-1 or 10-1 or something. So obviously we're non-conference. So we literally had to have like a perfect season to be bowl eligible because we were non-conference. We were independent. So this was our season in the balance of that game. And it was the game before the last game of the season against New Mexico, who we knew we were gonna smash. So this was an SEC school. Obviously we hadn't beaten an SEC school at the time yet. So major importance in this game. And we had the game. It was 6-3, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, 2:30 maybe. We got the ball in their territory, just marched it down the field. The game was well in control, and it was a first down, I think, or a second down. We tried to run the ball from the shotgun, and the snap was bad, hit Daunte's foot, rolled off, and they recovered it. And here we are under a minute now. We're only up 3 in their territory. So we easily probably would have got another first, killed the clock. I mean, we had the game won. All we had to do was just not turn the ball over. So anyhow, the fumble happened. We even get them to a 4th and 10 in that drive as they're going down that last drive to score. 4th and 10. Diablo Divine dropped interception on the 3rd down right through his hands. It was just a crazy, crazy way to let a game go. And then 4th and 10, the quarterback scrambled. Everybody's covered. He scrambles for the first down, 4th and 10. And then I think the next play, we blitz the corner and they throw a hitch to Carson Bailey, and the safety comes and whiffs on the tackle, and he goes 60 yards to put him up 10-6. And then we don't have enough time left to go down and score. And that was the one that got away from us. And that killed the season. We ended up going 9-2 and not getting a bowl bid. So we went 9-2 and didn't even go to a bowl game. So that was the biggest game that really took away from us and affected us big time,
Man, that was Adam and my freshman year. And that was our first taste of heartbreak as UCF fans. That game killed us, man. As much as it hurt me, I can't imagine how much it hurt you guys. And you relived those plays. I put all those plays down, and you nailed every one of them. The Divine dropping that interception would have sealed it. The 4th and 10, that snap, that was the 5th turnover of that game for us. 5 turnovers, and we're still winning 6-3.
Right. SEC school, Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, my question was going to be, do you still have nightmares about that game?
Oh, yeah. Well, up until we beat Auburn last year, that was the huge, I guess weight off my shoulders that we beat Auburn last year. But, before that, it's nightmares about that game. But I got a little taste, we got a little taste of victory, revenge from some 20-something years ago, beating Auburn down in that bowl game last year. So
Yeah, that was cool. Did you call up any of the guys from the '98 team and like pop a beer or something together over the phone?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've run into them several times. Like even like the guys, the last two Fiesta Bowls that we were in was in Arizona. So I live in Arizona, so off season. So I've ran into several guys from the team at the games.
So,
but yeah, that was a nightmare. Every time I think about it, could have just really reshaped the whole season. We went to bowl game, got to change the history. First bowl game for UCF, and I think we still were going to be invited to a bowl game that year, but it was out of us in Miami, and it's a business obviously, and their fans traveled better at that time, so we didn't get a bowl game.
So being that obviously you're a coach now, you're the head coach of the Jacksonville Sharks of the National Arena League. So thinking back on after that Auburn game, understanding how tough that is, what did Coach Kruzek say to you guys in the locker room after that game?
I can't even remember. We were so distraught. I mean, because really, the year before we had so many returners that year. That year before, we lost all those tough games. The Auburn, the Ole Miss, the Mississippi State, South Carolina, like you said, Nebraska. And we came back that next year just, ready to go. And we didn't lose any games we were supposed to win that year. We won every game. We lost to Purdue, which we could talk about how we lost that game. But anyhow, so we hadn't had that feeling for a while that we were in games and we couldn't finish them. So that was just an unexpected blow that just took the air out of us, because we were balling. So I can't even tell you what Cruz said, to be honest with you. I know we were just stunned, just shocked. The season was going so well. We were dominating everybody in every way, and to let one slip away when we're that close to beating an SEC school for the first time, and basically, we went through that stuff last year with SEC schools, almost beating them, and we had it in our hands, and let it slip away. So that was tough.
Yeah, we still should have gone to that bowl game. Miami, remember, they had a makeup game at the end of the year against UCLA because it was canceled from a hurricane earlier in the year.
Right.
So without that win, we would have gone to that Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah. So it was heartbreak. I remember all the guys we got. When they did bowl selection, everybody was at the apartment. We all picked the apartment. Daunte and myself and Reggie Dawson, we roomed together. We all crowded in there and waited for the bowl selection, and it never came. It was tough.
Yeah, and not only that, but there were only half as many bowl games back then as there are now too.
Right, exactly. Now you got all kind of bowls now. Exactly. So, but yep, that game really made. I think it really made the difference in the season for sure.
Well, under Kruzek, the offense was geared up tempo, air raid. You said that's why you wanted to go there. Now that's kind of like the norm in college football. Right? How would you describe the system that Kruzek ran, and how is it similar to what we see today? We had a 4 or 5 wide set, and Kruzek was very creative with the spread offense. We didn't do. I think that we were one of the first teams really spread out like that. I think, but today, I think Oregon kind of, they set the tone with some of their spread offense after we did. It really had a high potent offense like that, and everybody kind of ran with that mold. But with football, things come in phases. The run and shoot offense, I formation. It just comes in phases. So it's definitely some high powered offenses out there. But when everybody goes to the similar type, you practice against it, and people are getting better at defending. The spread offenses and stuff. So it kind of, it's almost like the team that comes with the new wrinkles first, has success, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon. And once you're practicing, it's in your offense, and you get better at defending it, and that's kind of how it goes in cycles. But we didn't have what they have this now, like all this zone read stuff. We didn't have that back then. We weren't doing all the read option and quarterback run stuff as much. It's really changed the football period, because now even the NFL is going to it because all the colleges are doing it. So, that's what
football is now. It's a lot of zone read and quarterback, athletic quarterback play. That's pretty much you didn't have, think about it, you didn't have a lot of Daunte Culpeppers back then, athletic quarterbacks. So, the whole mold has changed to just athleticism, spread it out, zone reads, RPOs, which is, read pass options. And it's really, just quarterback play has been a lot more athletic, and they've been getting a lot more freedom to do different things and make checks and decide to pass or throw. So it's been definitely evolving to a much different game.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Daunte Culpepper. So, he was a freak of nature at that quarterback position back in the day. How much fun was it to play with a guy like him in that kind of offense?
I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons, I went to, offense and a guy like that I got to play with 2 years, heck of a competitor, bought you time to run deep routes. And, obviously I caught 1,100 2 years in a row. So, I mean, it was a throw he couldn't make. So, I mean, I think we had broke the percentage record, completion record, or I think a junior year maybe, or senior year. But, what was it? I don't know. You might have to step. But it was whatever the percentage were, 78% or something. We set the record for completion record. So, I mean, it was pitch and catch out there. I mean, it really was. I mean, there wasn't a ball, deep ball, out route. He had such a strong arm. I really benefited from it.
Yeah, so Daunte hasn't been around the program much lately. Do you guys still keep in touch, and are you still close? Do you guys still talk about your days at UCF?
I've talked to him this year once on the phone. I really keep up with fellow receiver Mark Nonson, and he lives in Florida full time, so he keeps up with those guys a little more than I do because I'm on the West Coast. But I've talked to him this year a little bit. But yeah, everybody gets busy with kids and in life. I'm a head coach and things, so we don't keep up as much. But yeah.
So based on the success that UCF has had the last 2 years, has it changed the way people approach you when you tell them, yeah, I played for UCF once? Do they look at you different? Do they say anything differently now?
Yeah, I mean, because we're a lot more known. Back then you could say UCF and they wouldn't know. And the thing about it is back then I don't even think we were known as UCF. We were more known as Central Florida.
Right.
So we just weren't known, we just weren't, because we were just getting D1 and things like that. So definitely everybody, obviously with the undefeated and national championship talk and things like that, it's definitely, you could throw the name out now, UCF, and everybody knows about it. So, I mean, I have arguments with my players all the time because I got, kids from Florida and schools like that. So I'm always arguing about who's the best Florida school. So it's fun.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, now you've transitioned to a successful coaching career. You're now the head coach of the Jacksonville Sharks National Arena League. Season kicks off early April, and if you want to get to more info, you can head to the website. That's jaxsharks.com. So now that you're a successful coach, and put you in the coaching spot for a second, what would Siaha Burley, the coach, tell Siaha Burley, the player?
Interesting. Man. I really had, some great coaches playing for, like I said, with Kruzik, and they really showcased my abilities very well. I have no complaints, and about my college career especially, but I can see myself, especially once I became an arena player and at a high level player of the year. I got a little cocky probably, so I probably was that guy that, if I was playing for myself, I probably as a coach would have had to check the ego a little bit because once I got pretty good, I know Danny White I played for. I know we butted heads 1 year, but that was just a competitor in both of us, so I probably I think I used to overthink things a lot, as far as the reads and how to run routes and things, and so I probably was just that guy that just you have to just play the game, let the coaches coach and play the game. Once I got to later in my career, college I didn't say anything, but once I got professional and got smarter and wiser, I started probably trying to do too much, which most veteran players do, because I coach them now. So the veterans, the brain's always thinking ahead and trying to, over scheme and overthink things, and you got to kind of, zone them back into what we're doing, and because they always want to do a little bit more because they're competitive and things like that. So that was that guy late in my career. I probably would have, had to, hone me back in to just, listen to what coaches trying to do and stay within the scheme of things. Probably that's about it.
And we should clarify for people who aren't familiar. So when you said Danny White, you're not talking about our current athletic director. You're talking about the former Cowboys quarterback and coach in the Arena League for a while. So for everybody who just drove off the road thinking Danny White coached football, it's a.
Is that right? I didn't know.
Yeah, different Danny White.
Yeah, Danny White, Cowboys. He coached Arena Football with Arizona Rattlers and Utah Blaze late in my career for sure.
So you've been a coach now at a lot of different levels in Arena Football, and you've had a lot of success. Is there any part of you that thinks about maybe one day going to college, maybe trying out one of these other professional leagues, or is there something just about Arena
Absolutely.
that you fell in love with?
No, I mean, it's tough to break into the college game. I mean, coaching is kind of a trust factor. Coaches usually hire guys they trust, and I hadn't coached college football. I did coach actually junior college football, but I just haven't been in that circle to be able to get the right connections. And Kruzik is not in college anymore. He's not coaching. Some of the guys that I had connections with aren't really coaching. So it's kind of tough to break into it. But yeah, I enjoyed Arena Football, and I'm doing well in it and stuff. But yeah, at some point I'd like to get a shot at the big field for sure.
All right, Silas. So we like to do a little fun thing. We end all of our interviews with 10 rapid-fire questions, right? So these could be questions about football, about life, about music, about food. So you never know what's going to hit you. So are you prepared for our patented rapid-fire 10 questions?
Hit me. Stay ready. I don't got to get ready. So let's go.
Here we go. What is the worst that somebody's ever butchered saying your first name?
Siaha.
Yeah, I could see that like telemarketer calling. Hi, Mr. Siaha.
Siaha. I get it all.
All right, what was your go-to spot for food around campus when you were there?
Ooh, campus.
It could be off campus. It could be, but right around school.
Right. Burger King.
Okay.
Daunte and I used to go get Burger King and probably split $2 and get us a $1 menu burger or something.
Oh yeah, no, I used to do the same thing, the 2-for-2 Big Macs when we were there at the same time. So.
All right. Speaking of Daunte, has he ever thrown a ball so hard that he hurt one of your fingers?
Absolutely. First practice, first day, crossing around 5 yards. He threw it 100 miles an hour. I'm 10 feet away from him. And it went through my hands, bounced off my chest, and went another 30 yards probably.
What do you
Did you think about going back to Arizona after that?
Right. I didn't understand why are you throwing it so hard. I'm 10 feet away from you. Like he didn't really understand the touch until like his second. I mean, later on in that season, I guess at some point he figured it out. He started putting more touch on it. But man, his arm was so strong. He was young. He was just a powerful guy.
Okay. What movie that you watch makes you cry every time you watch it?
Jeez. I would say one of the first movies that popped in my head was Simon Birch. That was a sad movie.
I missed that one. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, check that. Is that on Netflix?
Check it out. Yeah, you gotta check that one out. It's an old school movie, but we saw it when I went to the Hula Bowl on the plane, and that was pretty tear-jerking. You got a plane full of all-stars, and I'm sitting here wiping my eyes.
you know what movie gets me? You know what gets me every time is Remember the Titans.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Strong side, weak side. Every time that'll get me choked up. All right, next up for you. We got a true or false. Ready? True or false? Coach Kruzik wore a shirt one size too small to show off his biceps. True or false?
Absolutely true.
Absolutely. We knew it. Yeah, we knew it. Did you guys ever talk? I mean, did you guys ever give him any good-natured poking fun at kind of his build and him showing off the guns at all times?
Absolutely. He actually, I think he would like twist the arm and tuck it up underneath tighter. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you would see him doing that on the sideline, just rolling them up a little.
Yeah.
Who would win in an arm wrestling contest between Coach Cruz and Chuck Norris?
Gotta go Cruz.
Of course.
Easy.
Was anybody dumb enough on the team to challenge him to one of those?
No, Cruz lived in the weight room now.
Yeah, I
He
know.
went in the coach's office. He's in the weight room.
All right. Anybody who went to UCF during the time that we were on campus remembers how bad parking was. So how many parking tickets did you get from parking services while you were on campus?
Just a few, because I didn't really have a car too much there. So late my senior year, I think Diabre Divine sold me a Ford Taurus for $200, and that sucker didn't last too long either. So I didn't really have a car.
Well, $200. I don't know how far you expect to get on it.
Right, but yeah, definitely the parking was tough.
All right. So you scored 16 touchdowns in your UCF career. Which one stands out to you the most?
Well, probably receiving wise, the Carolina game. South Carolina game. That was my first start, and I think we were down in that game early, but I didn't even start that game. That was my first, really a lot of playing time game. But so the first time I scored was in that game. I ended up breaking the school record in that game for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the first touchdown was they had no respect for, I don't think they had respect for me. They had no safety. So they just blitzed Daunte and left us one-on-one on the outside. I just ran a post and then came back, I think, the same quarter. And then I took a screen about another 50 yards. And that was kind of like a breakout game for my career. That's where everything started. Second game, South Carolina. Yeah. Broke the school record in my first start, pretty much.
Not a bad start, huh?
That's not bad, no.
All right.
Is there a song that you listen to pregame to get you pumped up?
Back then?
Yeah, when you were playing.
And I don't remember in college we had so much going on. I mean, I actually liked the game. I mean, I liked the song they played on the stadium when our warm-up song was Men in Black. Will Smith.
Okay.
That was our warm-up song. I used to get hyped to that.
I did not see that one coming, but it's a classic. It's a good one.
But I actually, once I got one of my favorite songs was 50 Cent, "I'm Gonna Die Tonight." That's like one of my fight songs, so to speak. But yeah, back then I don't remember back then. That's a long time ago. But I know the Men in Black song was big for us.
Yeah, the 50 Cent must have been when you were in the Arena League, right? Because that wasn't out.
Right.
97, 98 when we were there.
Had to be.
Nope. I couldn't even tell you what I listened to back then.
All right, so we saved the hardest one for last. Or maybe not the hardest. I'm not sure. We'll find out here. So this is true, false. Ready? You and Daunte are the best quarterback wide receiver combo in UCF history. True or false?
Hands down, true.
There we go. Who's second? Yeah. Who's right behind you guys?
Who was I think who was Ryan's favorite target?
Schneider with Doug Gabriel.
Okay.
Oh, and he also had Marshall was
Stephen Moffitt.
He had Stephen Moffitt, right?
Yeah.
I
know Ryan had a good couple years there.
I know Blake had a pretty good trio. Blake had a good trio with Perryman, Hall, Wharton, Godfrey. Blake had some weapons. Blake probably Perryman at that point, right?
Perryman.
Yeah, Brashad Perryman. You know what? It's hard to find anybody better than Daunte and Cy. I mean, that duo. When we always go to the games as freshmen, it seemed like every pass was caught Siaha Burley 15 yards. Every once in a while they throw in a Mark nonstop, right?
Right. We had a good connection, man. It was great. I actually caught up with him in Minnesota with the Vikings. I actually signed with them in 2005. I thought I was on the next team and didn't make it. But yeah, I thought we were gonna get back together. Almost.
Oh, that would have been cool, man.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
There are cows among us. Adam and Mike will tell you who.
All right, we'll get to our cows in just a moment. Mike, Siaha Burley, again, I know we've talked about it a little bit before the interview as well. A nice guy, good to catch up with him. It was cool to see, too, by the way, during this past off season. He's based in Arizona. He was out training with Trey Nixon, obviously, who just got drafted to the Patriots. So it was good to see a little UCF homecoming there, a veteran helping out a young guy and doing some training stuff there. Obviously, Siaha had a really good career coaching in the Arena Football League as well, so made a name for himself after that. But again, wasn't the biggest guy in the field, Mike. He was kind of a smaller receiver, but when he got into space and Daunte found him on a bomb, it feels like that was sort of the hypo offense before the hypo offense was the hypo offense. It was bombs from Culpepper to Burley. So maybe Heupel was ahead of his time, or maybe Kruzek was ahead of his time. I don't know, but either way, Siaha Burley, fantastic receiver.
One of the best to ever do it. I haven't heard that interview since probably when we did it back then. It's been, 2 years since we recorded that?
Yeah, I never wrote the dates down on these, but this would have been circa probably somewhere in like February, March of 2019, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while. But very good one, very good stories. His recap of the Auburn game. If you want to go onto our YouTube page, I matched it up with the highlights from that game. You see exactly what he's talking about for you younger guys that don't remember that. They didn't have to live through that, us blowing that game. But we had that game in the bag. So many things had to go wrong, and they all did for us to lose that one. But he talked about how, us beating Auburn in the Peach Bowl a few years ago helped him get over that. So a very cool story. Good to hear from Siaha Burley, and good to see him still being involved in football and helping Knights now, like Trey Nixon. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of him out there too.
Hopefully we will. What we will see is Cow of the Week, Mike. Each week we scour the internet, we scour social media, we scour life to find people, places, or things that we think are cow-worthy as an homage to our neighbors to the west there. And Mike, you always lead us off with your Cow of the Week, so this week shall be no different. Who do you have for Cow of the Week?
Cows, a lot of times, are cows, like we did last week. Sometimes a cow is a horse, as in this week. Or the horse's trainer. The winner of the Kentucky Derby, Medina Spirit, wins the Kentucky Derby just last week, and now comes out with a positive test for steroids. Trainer Bob Baffert, who is basically the only trainer. Like, if you had told me, name a horse trainer, that's the only name I could really know, right? Maybe there's another one that I'm not thinking of, but he is the best horse trainer there is. It seems like his horses are always winning the Kentucky Derby, or at least they're always talking about winning they're always favored to win the Kentucky Derby. And his story was that some guy peed in his horse's trailer, or what is it called? His stall, or whatever.
Yep.
And the horse ate the urine, or drank it, I guess. And that's what caused the negative test, which now is, calling into question all his other horses. That's what it takes. If you get caught cheating once, now we're going to go back in history and see if you've done, how many times this has happened. He's had other horses test positive, right? This is not his first one. So he's now going to be looked at as like the Barry Bonds of horse racing, where he's breaking records and his guys always win, but now we got to put an asterisk next to it. Like, is he winning the right way, or is he cheating every week, every year? So he's the cow. Can you blame the horse of actually being the cow? The horse doesn't know what he's doing. The horse didn't say inject me with steroids. The horse is not telling him, to do this to him. the horse, and he drank the urine.
Yeah, I wouldn't think.
He probably wouldn't even. You can't even blame him for that. So it's not the horse that's the cow. I guess it's got to be Baffert's that's the cow, and people that work for him that are doing these things to these horses. So that's the cow of the week this week, Bob Baffert and his whole staff, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to check right now to see if the horse is to blame for this. It doesn't look like it. The steroid was beta-methasone, which is an anti-inflammatory drug. Again, one of the things he's saying is obviously the urine in the stall situation. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything. I don't know what if he's disqualified. The next guy, I guess, wins the Derby. So that's interesting from a better standpoint. What's going to happen there? This is Baffert's fifth medication violation, since May of 2020. I don't know what the other ones were for there, but looks like if Medina's Spirit is the appeal is upheld, she, I guess, I'm not sure, will be disqualified and will not be the Kentucky Derby winner.
How much urine would a horse have to drink or eat, I guess, if it's on the hay, for it to affect their blood work so much that it comes up as their positive test for steroids? That's got to be a far-fetched story to believe. And who's just peeing in the stalls like that? I mean, other than the horses?
That's a great. That's actually the best question you've asked. Who, like, with the hay thing, I'm okay with because you heard the expression "I'm hungry as a horse," so I assume they eat a lot of hay. So apparently, if you ate, I guess the better question was how much urine was there to eat, because I assume that the horse ate a bunch of hay. You'd have to think that this was like just a urine-soaked just stall of hay around there for this horse to have gotten there. And I don't know how much you're allowed to have, what a common amount is. The horse had 21 picograms. I don't know what that even means. I'm not sure what the average number is. I'm not sure what the picogram per urine ratio is. It's all kinds of funny, man.
But if you're one of the guys that's working on this horse, you're training the horse or whatever, you're involved, or you're the owner or whatever, and you're there hanging out, the horse is practicing today, and you got to go to the bathroom. You're not just going to actually go to the bathroom. You're just going to whip it out right there where the horse hangs out and pee in his stall. I don't know if I believe that. And then for him to get so much in his system, I mean, you have to piss directly into this horse's mouth, I would think, to have this kind of effect on the testing. So is this the best story this guy could come up with? I don't know, man. There's definitely something fishy going on with this Bob Baffert character.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to bleep out that part. I think we need a horse we need like Nugget on here to help us understand it. Because here's my other thing: horses are expensive, right? A racehorse costs a couple of $1 million to buy and to train and to board and all this other stuff, right? I'm thinking if I have like a $3 million investment in the stall and I own this thing, I'm training this thing, and I come walking past and you're in there taking a leak with my horse, I feel like I got a problem. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just not something I would want anyone doing. Like, hey, would you get away? Don't pee near my $3 million horse. I feel like those are grounds for fighting. So I guess we'll see what happens to the appeal. I think the cow of the week is not so much the fact that maybe he did or didn't do this, right? I mean, I think we're all accustomed to the fact that, you know, performance-enhancing drugs are a thing. The story is really the cow of the week for me. Just come up with something better than that, for crying out loud. Use the old Barry Bonds. You know, I didn't know what was in the syringe kind of situation. You know, blame it on the horse. You know, the horse made me do it. I don't know, but come up with something better than this.
Yeah, the cover-up is always worse than the crime, right? It seems like. So I don't know, man. This is a crazy story. It's crazy to think what's going to happen with all the bets. So if you had bet on the horse that finished second, and you ripped up your tickets, now you're screwed, right? There's no. I don't know. Yeah,
I have no idea what Vegas or the Derby, what anyone's going to do with that.
And if you won money, you have to give it back. I don't think you're going to. Good luck tracking people down and getting your money back. That's not happening either. And people are going to. Good Samaritans are going to come back and say, "Here's the money back." That's not happening. Yeah. So and then there's the domino effect. So whoever finished in second or third was now in second, and that whole. It changes the trifecta.
I was gonna say, imagine you had 2, 3. Yeah, you had 2, 3, 4, and you thought you lost, and all of a sudden now you're the winner. I mean, that's lottery money found, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back. I actually bet on this race. I usually bet once a year or twice a year. I bet on the Kentucky Derby and I bet on the Super Bowl. I actually haven't bet the Kentucky Derby for the last couple of years, but I did get into it this year, and I put a few shekels down. I lost, but now I don't even remember. I have to go back and see if I actually won.
We'll check back. We'll check back with you. Keep us updated on if Mike's not on the show next week. He got rich off of the horse urination situation. Mike, my cow of the week is a close to home story for those of us here in the state of Florida. And news breaking today, Mike, that the Jacksonville Jaguars under new head coach Urban Meyer had a pretty good draft, number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. They got Travis Etienne later in the first round. They're trying to build something a little bit new and exciting in Jacksonville. Obviously, a terrible year in 2020. This is their year. Still not projected to be a fantastic team, but maybe the building blocks of something fantastic. Bringing a lot of youth, a lot of young guys in to compete for roster spots and really just start to build this thing from the ground up, which makes today's signing make perfect sense, Mike. Because what did Urban and the Jags do? Well, they went out and they inked a new tight end, Mike. A reasonable thing to do. You need a tight end for blocking purposes, maybe somebody on special teams, a third down safety valve for your young quarterback. Makes all the sense in the world, Mike, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, don't say that to Josh Heupel because
it's fair. Heupel's right now like who? But what if I told you that this tight end was one Timothy Tebow, Mike? He of obviously University of Florida fame, who went on to try to play quarterback in the NFL, bounced around, didn't make it anywhere, then became an outfielder for the New York Mets. Didn't quite make it out there as well, and now will be signing on as a tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and potentially with a roster spot to maybe make the team. I guess he's not a guaranteed contract, but Tim Tebow, he who has not played in the NFL in 5-6 years, he who has never played tight end at all, as far as we know, your new Jacksonville Jaguars tight end.
He's never played tight end, right? We've said that.
I think one time Mark Sanchez threw him a pass that went off his helmet, if I saw that highlight correctly. And I don't know who to blame for that, by the way, because you could blame me. You probably either one of those guys.
The one thing you can say about Tebow is he's gonna try hard. He's gonna give everything he's got. He's gonna be ready to play. He's gonna put his heart into it. If you need one play and you want to hand him the ball, he'll probably get you a yard or two if you need him. But he hasn't played football in 8 years now. He did better in baseball than I actually thought he was going to, and he lasted longer than I thought he was going to. He's a good athlete, but you're telling me that there's not another tight end out there in the college ranks that is, one, obviously a lot younger, and two, been playing tight end his whole career that the Jaguars could have signed. I get that the relationship that Urban Meyer has with Tebow, maybe he feels like he owes him a little bit because he kind of made his career there by winning those national championships with him. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to turn out to be a decent story for them. Maybe he'll make a big play at some point during the season, but long term, I don't know how he's going to do at tight end.
Yeah, obviously, I think the thing that's head scratching is we had UCF had Michael Klubiali on the Jaguars roster a couple years back. Didn't make the team. Obviously, I think he got injured. You can't tell me right now Coobs wouldn't be a better tight end prospect than Tebow, right? Like that's the thing. I'm not saying that Coobs is heading to the Pro Bowl or something next year, but there are any number of tight ends that are out there that either haven't played in a few years, that didn't get a chance out of college, that could potentially use a roster spot. I guess I understand if you want to try to give your boy an opportunity, right? That's what sometimes what life is about, is somebody and you get a chance. But in this situation, if you're taking a chance away from a guy, that just feels a little bit weird. Part of you wonders if it's a jersey situation. Tebow from Jacksonville went to high school. Actually, my daughter will go to the high school that he went to next year. So he's from the area here. I think he just bought a house here recently in Jacksonville. So maybe this is an effort to sell number 15 Tebow jerseys, which is interesting because Gardner Minshew, last year's starting quarterback, wears 15. So what's going to happen there? So if it's a jersey ploy, if it's a marketing situation, I get it. You need to drum up some excitement, and Tebow will put butts in seats. He will get cameras on the facilities, but you got to think another person could have or should have had an opportunity to maybe try out for this spot.
Well, I don't think the Jaguars are going to have a hard time selling jerseys this year. Usually when you sign or you draft the number one quarterback in the draft, Trevor Lawrence, that's going to sell a lot of jerseys. Yeah, I'm sure they will sell a bunch of Tebow jerseys, though. I mean, he is a very popular player in the area. So I guess it's a few extra bucks for them. I can't imagine that's the number one reason they brought him in. If they were another, I mean, they were a 1-15 team, but if they were a team with no hope, without a new coach and the number one quarterback coming in, then you could see it as a big reason. But I think it's just probably going to be a feel-good story for him. And I mean, Tebow, you got to hand it to the guy, man. He puts himself in the right situations. He keeps getting these chances. He got to play baseball. He married his wife, Miss Universe or something, or I don't know.
I mean,
the guy's had a pretty decent life, right?
He's not doing bad. I mean, Miss Universe, those are just running around everywhere. Like, it's not, anyone can do that. Yeah, no, listen, I don't mean to hate on him and say that he's not a decent human being. By all accounts, he seems like a really nice guy. I guess my objection is more so, is he taking the spot of somebody who maybe is more deserving of it, right? If you want to make it a UCF connection, since that's why you're listening to us, again, think of Kubi Ali, right? Here's a guy who would love to say, hey, Coop got invited to Jack's camp. We'd all be like, great, let's hope he can figure it out. Let's hope he gets a chance, yada, yada, yada. So is there a guy not getting that chance now because, Urban's, trying to do Tebow a favor, which, again, he's entitled to do. I understand that that's what happens a lot of times in business and in life. It's who you know. It just feels like, is this really the right thing? And to be fair to Tebow, he's not guaranteed a roster spot. He's got to try to make the team as a tight end. So we'll see. But I guarantee if he makes the team as a tight end, Mike, over under number of jump passes we see next year. At least one, maybe two.
Yeah, 3. Look, nobody hates the Gators more than me. I hated Tebow when he was with the Gators, mainly because they kept winning. And it's hard to actually hate him because he's such a good guy. But maybe Urban has him there to cover up. Maybe he plans on signing a couple other murderers to the team or something. And
wow.
This guy on the team to help his image a little bit. I don't know. But I always thought something was fake about him. Yeah. When he was in college, the whole virgin thing, and he just seemed too nice, right? But I guess time has shown that's actually who he is. He's a very nice guy. And it's actually hard for me to not like him anymore.
I just like the conversation that goes on where he walks in the office with the general manager and says, hey, I think Trent Baalke is the GM. Hey, Trent, hey, look, I'm going to have to sign a couple of murderers. So can we cover this up with a Tebow? Yeah, sure. No problem. Urban. Okay, cool. Thanks. Like that's the conversation I want to have happen is Urban just going, hey, I gotta sign some murderers. But hopefully, Mike, we killed this show if nothing else. Siaha Burley, a big 3 of receiver quarterback duos, charge on, charge off with some headlines. We killed this one, and we'll continue to keep doing that for you guys as much as we can find content. Don't forget, Thursdays, the live show will feature Trace Trelko, and who knows what at that point. Maybe foreshadowing, UCF Mike will be out and about this week. Wednesday, Charge On event. I don't want to plug too much because you never know what can happen, but obviously there will be some head coaches there. There will be some athletic directors there, and Mike will have his trusty equipment ready to stand by and talk to anybody who's willing to talk to him. So check in Thursday, maybe a foreshadowing, and then maybe next week we'll have a bunch of new, fresh, fun content for you guys, Mike.
That's right. I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. I've gone to a few of these. Last time I got us some good sound. We need some new rejoins for the show, some new sounders, right? Hopefully I can get a couple of those.
Yeah, we're hurting.
So, and it's going to be fun. I haven't met any of these guys before. Mohajir's the new, Miles On's new, so it'd be interesting to get into their faces and see what they're like up close and personal. So
if you're listening to this and you're going to be down at the Fort Lauderdale event, make sure find UCF Mike. I'm sure he'll be bouncing around. Make sure you say hello. Let him know you're a big fan of the show, and maybe if you're nice to him, he'll promise to send you a hat. Depends how many beers he has at that point. He tends to give away hats just willy-nilly, so you never know when you're going to get a hat out of UCF Mike. So if you're down there, stop by, say hello. But thanks for saying hello and listening to this particular episode. Again, make sure you subscribe, rate, review to this show. Follow us on social media stuff at Sons of UCF. 2nightsmedia.com is where one of these days you'll get fresh content from blog posts and all that good jazz, but you can get YouTube stuff and all the pods, all the live shows, everything all in one-stop shop, Mike. Everybody have a fantastic week. Mike, have fun down at the Charge On event, and we will talk at everybody 1 week from tonight. Everybody, go Knights.
Charge on.